but how good that stuff over.
That's right. We are live, as Todd just said. Welcome to this Star Wars Reporter podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Wookiee Steve, and I'm joined by my partner in friendship, Trooper Todd. Say hello.
Hello there, Wookiee Steve. Again, thank you very much for the invite. So nice to sit here and talk Star Wars. One of our favorite things growing up as kids, because again, we met each other when we were 5 years old, and we had a big passion of Star Wars growing up all through high school. And it's just so neat that 45 years later plus, we're together talking about Star Wars again. How
Don't
cool
say
is that?
It's been like 10 years, right?
10 years. Sure, Steve. 10 years. One viewer just has to look at us both and know we're lying if we say 10 years. Come on.
Hey, come on. We
Yeah,
don't look a day over 30.
Not a day over 30 at all.
Day over 30. Oh, yeah. I cannot wait to get into this episode, which is probably my favorite Mandalorian episode to date.
Well, I just have to say, here's one thing. Like, we talked a bit through texting throughout the week since we watched the episode. Like, to me, this is one of the biggest episodes ever. So much happened, and yet nothing happened. Really, like nothing really happens. You know what I'm saying? Like for action orientation sort of thing. Like, there's just a lot of talking, a lot of walking, a lot of, but really nothing happens to the whole episode. Really, like movement.
But it's the quality of what is happening in
quality of storytelling and there's so much to unpack tonight, Steve. So much to unpack.
I know. I was getting so many screenshots. I couldn't even fit all of it on here because it only allows me to do so much. I was just going crazy. There's so much. But before we get started, just want to make sure to remind everyone to like and share and subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out. Also, be sure to follow us on our social media, which again, of course, is YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to contact us to collaborate for a promotion, news tip, or just say hi, you can do that at contact@StarWarsReporter.com. Of course, check out the awesome site, StarWarsReporter.com, for all your news and fandom information.
Good source to go to right there, for sure.
Definitely.
Hopefully we get some comments today. It'd be nice to have some comments from people who might have watched the episode and throw it in, because like I'm sure everybody's talking what's going on. Like last week's episode, lots of talk, lots of discussion. How it's the best Mandalorian story ever. Like we're just when you think you can't get better, it just goes another page, right? Like so much happened this episode I could never have predicted. Like, really, none of us really predicted this was going to happen. I know what I predicted. Remember I said at the end of chapter, so we used to watch chapter 6 after chapter 5, I said that, he said, I have to go meet a small friend. Yeah. I thought they wouldn't show that. I thought that would just be a story they do with the first episode of Mandalorian. Yeah. I was totally 100% wrong. So they actually did show us what Mandalorian was up to this after he said that. So
yeah. So chapter 6, from the desert comes a stranger, right? And the Star Wars god himself, Dave Filoni, who directed this, and I'm gonna have a lot to talk about with the directing of this, even though I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to filmmaking. I can tell with my eyes how awesome the cinematography and just the usage of his scenes that were done. And I mean, he did a lot of that in the episodes he directed in The Mandalorian. So kind of the wide out scenes showing people like in a showdown, like the Ahsoka episode in The Mandalorian. And there's a few of these scenes here. I have pictures and we'll go over that, but
we after watching this episode, you get a really good sense of what characters Filoni really likes.
Well, I mean, as soon as we knew that Filoni was going to be directing 6, it was like, okay, so Ahsoka's going to be in there doing something.
I didn't know he was directing till the end. Did it show him directed in the beginning or the end? I thought it was the end credits. It said directed by Filoni. I had no idea he directed till the very end.
Yeah, it came out earlier in the news that it was upcoming. He was going to be doing 6. So right away I'm like, okay, well, Ahsoka, because if he does a commercial for tires, Ahsoka's going to be in it. So
obviously, I'm not paying close enough attention to the Star Wars Reporter, obviously online, like you, everybody else should, right? That's why you would know that if you were paying attention to the Star Wars Reporter. I apologize, I did not know. But
wow.
just imagine my surprise when I saw his name, right? It's like
Yes.
it's good, right? So
Exactly.
yeah.
So chapter 6 again, like almost every episode, it opens in the sands of Tatooine, and it's kind of we kind of fall upon in the middle of a Pike drug deal.
Spice deal, Steve.
Yeah,
Spice. They're
sorry,
dealing spice.
spice deal.
I don't know what
And
spice is exactly. Do you know what spice is exactly? What is it?
spice is life. The spice must flow. Wait, I'm sorry. Is that the wrong? I think that's the wrong franchise. Sorry.
Yes.
But there was a lot of it seems to be the consensus out there that there was a lot of influence with the whole Dune spice, but that's what I think it is. I think it's some kind of or they're alluding to it is a drug, right?
Yes, of course, yes. Why else would the crime syndicate be involved with it, right? If it wasn't drug related sort of thing. But
Right,
yes, they call it
exactly.
spice. But
So
what a great opening scene. What a great opening scene.
Yeah, I mean, then one of
A
my
stranger.
favorite characters in the Mandalorian and this season here, it's Cobb Vanth
I
shows up.
know, right? Like again, when he first made his appearance in Mandalorian, I'm a big fan of Timothy Oliphant, and I was
Yes.
so excited to see him. You just know it's a matter of time. One thing I love about this, I'm sorry, Steve, I cut you off, but the fact
No.
that we talked about before about how they keep bringing they introduce character and they keep bringing them back, right? One thing that I'm really impressed with Dave Filoni and John Favreau is the fact that we talk about they're doing what Marvel's done just differently. They're starting with their series. They're creating all these characters. They're bringing characters from Clone Wars, from the Bad Batch, from um, Rebels. They're bringing them all together in these series, right? So here's a character they introduced in Mandalorian season 2. They
Yeah.
brought him back here, right? It was like at first I didn't know it was him. I get a sense, and all of a sudden, boom, you see him. I was like, how exciting was that, Steve, for you?
Like I said, his whole demeanor, his whole character is so cool. Now, I will say one thing: without his armor or anything, I mean, he seems kind of out there. You know what I mean? Like he seems kind of very, very vulnerable, and the fact that he is such a great. I mean, he's like one of those old West shooters, of course,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
well, even the blasters they look very old West style, right? You know what I'm saying? They look like a 6-shooter.
Yeah, it's like just his whole. He's got that really great American cowboy movie feel to him on how he talks, and it's the delivery on how he does it too. Anyone could, well, especially if you're from the US, can do some kind of accent or some kind of voice, but it's his delivery that does it so well, and just the character about him, which is why I really wish they would uncancel Rangers of the Republic and make him and like Captain Teva, maybe enter a couple other characters as these marshals, like Republic marshals. He's awesome.
Well, that's it. Like you were saying that he doesn't have a suit, right? So maybe he doesn't look as intimidating without the suit, but at the same time, he's making up for his swagger, right? You know what I'm saying? He's very confident in his words. He's very confident in his body language, like to the point where you take the guy seriously, right? Like and it's just the whole entire scenario when he's just looking at him and he gives him a little suggestion or what they should do, right?
Yeah.
And it began even how he did it. He was, but just like you're saying, the delivery is just like very playful, but at the same time serious.
Yeah, I really like that, and just the standoff here with the Pikes like this. This is another one of these wide shots that Filoni is doing. Like Todd, with your experience, I'm not sure what that called, just like a wide shot of some sort, but um, he does several of these things, and this just gives another feel of kind of the situation he's in. Right, they're in the middle of nowhere, and again, it's that whole Wild West look too.
like Ron Howard, another famous director, always says, that face to face, the profile shot is a really good way to set up tension, right? You don't see the face. You see two eyes. It's more of, you see the person's character, you see the person's soul, but you see this, you see less of them. You're hiding something, and it's
Mhm.
more kind of intimidating, and you're just not seeing the whole face. So therefore, it's a little more intimidating. You can't see the whole entire character, sort of thing, and that's standoffish sort of thing, right? So again, these wide shots, and like you said, it happens many, many times in this episode, especially in these tense situations. It's wide, boom, showing out. It shows this is how far away they are, and this is how it's just setting up a tense standoff, right? And it's very, very well executed, like you're saying.
Yeah, and the usage of this kind of feel, very, very, very Wild West. With you're seeing low behind the person with the holster and the gun. It's so awesome, and then of course you get this kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it's very personal. That shot where it comes many times, you have the over the shoulder shot you set up, but it's much more of a tension building when you show the holster and the hand on the gun, right? When the guy walks in, boom, it's a perfect shot. It's great, great low angle. You establish the bad guys, and you have a good guy coming here, and he's got his hand on the pistol. Okay, get ready. Something might be happening, right? It's a really good way to set up a scene and build tension right away. It's really good.
Right. So of course the six shooter himself, I guess I'll say, he ends up kind of giving the Pikes a chance. He's like, just take your stuff and get out of here. Or no, he
No,
was
it
allowing
was
them.
leave. You have to leave something. He wanted him to leave the spice. Take the money, but leave the spice. He said, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then they all try to take a shot at him, and he pew pew pew, right, just like the gunslinger, right,
Yeah.
and he takes them all out, leaves one.
Well, leaves one. You have to leave one. Yeah, yeah. Send a
Leave one,
message.
send a message, right? So the guy's
Yeah.
trying to take both. He's like, "Nah, leave the spice, take the money." And I remember writing a note saying, he's supposed to be a good guy, but I wrote in brackets, he should have killed all of them because now,
But if you kill all of them, you can't send a message back, right? He
right?
wanted to deliver a message. The message is you can stay in Mos Eisley, you can stay in most, what, I can't remember the other place is called, but
Most that stuff, yeah,
this is off. You have a big place. You don't need to be here. Take your business elsewhere. That's the message. Now he's going to send back to them.
but he knew, like, later on we'll find out, they knew where to go to get their revenge. And I know he's a good guy. Like, you don't do that because that guy was kind of, he had the jump on him, so he didn't even have a weapon. Good guys don't do that. But I was like, should have killed him. Should have killed him, which is me apparently dipping into the dark side.
Yeah,
So,
a little bit, just a little bit, Mr.
but it
Jedi.
was such a great opening, right? It's almost like, oh, it's like that Wild West, but sci-fi, where he shows up and takes out the bad guys, and he's just all cool the entire time, right? Of course, the spice, he just kind of dumps it
Lets it
in
blow
the
away. Yeah,
sand.
mix it in with all the other sand like it doesn't exist, right? It was
Yeah,
not about, like, he could remember that the Pike said that's worth more than your whole entire city, right? Remember he said that? I was like,
yeah,
just he doesn't care. It's gone,
yeah,
blowing in the wind, right? Like, we don't need this. Is not necessary. Yeah, it is a great setup. Bringing back a character that they established really well in Mandalorian that everybody seemed to like, and they
yeah,
bring it back right. It's not just doing it for shock value or ratings. So they're bringing it back again. This is all made before anybody watched the first episode of Book of Fett, right? So
yeah.
it's not people's negative thoughts. This is all planned way back before they started shooting, and just really, really good.
It's very
Again,
cool,
building an extended universe is what they're doing, as I've been saying for so long, right? And this is
right?
exactly what they're doing.
And this is what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but the Book of Boba Fett seems to be being used, because there's not much Boba Fett in it. It seems to be used as the platform to jump, right? It's the MCU, but the Star Wars universe version.
Hmm.
And it just seems like this is Boba Fett, sort of, and then there's all this other stuff. And it's gonna blast to all the stories that they're doing, that they have been doing, and connecting it to. So I mean, I don't care either way. I thought the Boba Fett stuff was fine, and the Mandalorian stuff I'm even liking more. So eh, it's less time for us to have to wait for season 3. Uh, we're getting a prequel Mandalorian to season 3.
Technically, we are. Yes, absolutely.
So speaking of Mandalorian, The next scene, we'll just jump right into that. So we go to seeing Mando.
Mando. Again,
He's
that cockpit view again, right? How great is this cockpit view?
Yeah.
So
For
good.
those in the chat, you can join the chat. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment. Say how awesome my beard is. Whatever. Um, so uh, we have Mando going. He's got business to do. He's gonna go see Grogu, right? So he's going to the planet. I just love all these scenes. Are so beautiful, and I wasn't a great fan of the Naboo fighter, but it's looking pretty slick here.
You know how I feel about Naboo Fighter, but yes, I like the modifications they've done to it. It doesn't look
Right.
so slick anymore, and it has a little rough edges to it. It looks a little beaten up now. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
now happy. I'm now a happy Star Wars fan.
So, and then as the ship's landing, right away I got excited because I wasn't sure what they're going to do. Are they going to have it like, you know, only Grogu's going to be there, no Luke Skywalker? But as soon as I saw this guy
You knew
at the
it.
landing area,
Yes.
I was like, wherever R2 is, there is a Luke. And
So
I
you
was
were
so
chomping on the
excited.
bit, I'm sure, right? Obviously, you were getting pretty
Oh,
pretty worked up, I'm sure.
I was doing some cartwheels. I'll admit I was excited. And yeah, it was very cool, Mando talking to him, and it was so cool.
I was going like, I know he's there, but I'm going. They're not going to do all the CGI work for this episode. They're not going to. So I thought he was going to be there. I thought for sure that there was going to be some way to get around it, so we don't have to see him, like a back of the head sort of thing.
Right.
And so that's what I was expecting. So I was going. There might be a possibility, but I'm just sure they're going to work around it so we don't have to see him, so they don't have to do all that work. I thought that would be the case.
Yeah, or just anything, any kind of a workaround. Like Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker wasn't going to be there. It was going to be someone else that was at the moment looking after Grogu.
Yeah.
If Mando even found him.
If exactly, yes.
Right. So R2 is going to be taking him to Grogu, but I just want to point out just some of the scenery, like the
Oh yes.
forest, beautiful. And again, the bamboo, it's that whole Japanese thing that Filoni likes to do and touch on, right? Because I mean, it's pretty much one of the influences of George Lucas, right?
Yeah.
So these beautiful scenes like this area where the temple is, and of course he takes him to this temple being built that Luke's going to be using, and it looks just like the old temples on the island Luke was hiding out on in
Yes.
the original. This kind of standard way that they build them, I guess.
Well, obviously with droids.
Yeah,
With
with
spider droids.
these spider droids, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. And they of course he asked to see Luke, right? And then what happens? Do you have the part where they actually build him a bench just to hang out and wait?
Yes. So R2 kind of, the other droids are making that bench for him. And I thought that's what they were doing. I'm like, I think they're making a chair for him.
See, I
And
didn't know that. I thought it was making a new building, but that was like continue. Sorry,
no,
Steve.
no. And then like R2 just shuts himself off. Like, I'm just going to ignore you now. I thought that was really funny. It seems so R2 to be kind of like his attitude. Like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
Well, he's just power save mode. Here you are. You just have to wait. I'm shutting myself down. It was very amusing, right? Then of course,
Yeah.
Mando's trying to talk to the spider droids, and they're like just doing what they're programmed to do, right? There's
Yeah.
no communication at all.
I love that. I love
I
that
guess I'll
so much.
just like they build a bamboo, then they put a little grass on so it's a little more cushiony, right? And so what does Mando do? Just lies down. I guess I'll just have a nap, I guess, and then wait. Like I don't know how long I'll be here for, so I might as well just wait it out.
That was funny. But the thing that was great is all of this moved really quick because the very next scene after that, well, he just has to sit and wait. We get Grogu and Luke together, and oh man,
And still, Steve, I wasn't sold. I wasn't sold that we're going to see his face, and then what happens, right?
like
Yeah, boom.
it looks so good. They improved. Like, look at this.
100 times fold, Steve. 100 times fold. Like if you look at the Return of the Jedi stuff, and then you look at this,
Yes.
how like the biggest issue I had with the season finale of Mandalorian 2 was how bad. Now, I'm so bad's a strong word to say how bad Luke looked, but he didn't look great when he talked. We had a whole episode where I just deconstructing it, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, I know the Star Lucasfilms went and hired some people who were really good at deep faking, and they brought them in, obviously, and just look how good it looked this time.
Yeah, they ended up hiring the guy that did the improvement, like, just on his own
Yeah,
from the season 2, and, I think they hired him almost right away, and
yeah.
then, I mean, you could tell this is someone that really knows the software, and this is such a cool scene. Well, I mean, when I had calmed down, uh,
When you came down from that ledge, eh?
I came down from that Luke Skywalker high. It was a cute scene of him trying to teach Grogu, right? And Grogu's being distracted by frogs. And he's actually using the Force to catch his food and stuff like that. And I really liked how Luke was kind of like, like he was still kind of serious. You know how Luke is. I mean, and he's training him, right? So then Luke shows him. He pulls a whole like every frog or whatever these frog things are out of this pond, and he's kind of showing him. I thought that was cool. It almost kind of felt, like something Yoda would do, right? Like what Yoda did with the X-wing,
Hmm.
kind of a deal. So I just thought that whole scene was cute, and I think I wrote this down here where he says, size matters not.
Yeah.
That's what he says to Grogu, which is pretty cool, right? It's like now he's the dad and he's teaching just like what Yoda did for him, and it's very cool, right? And it's you know I think what size matters not, or judge me by my size and stuff. So
Yeah.
a lot of the quotes that Luke quotes Yoda for that he was taught, they're slightly different.
They're slightly different. Also, he was trying to explain to Grogu too that this is how he always talked to me in riddles, sort of thing, right? He's also saying that too, right? Because one thing is Yoda's always trying to do is make Luke think, right? Of course, Yoda had his speech impediment, and that's how he talked. But at the same time, the way he talked made you think more to really analyze what he's saying
Right.
to learn from him, right? So he always kind of answered and said things in riddles, right? So it's just kind of neat that he was trying to teach the same way. He says, he used a Yoda mannerism and said, well, that's how he talked because he was
Right.
trying to make you. He always spoke in riddles. And so that's kind of neat that he's passing it down to this same species of Yoda. Obviously, because it was a nice, I thought, a nice touch to the whole entire episode.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And they do talk, right? Like again, there's not much happening, but there's a lot happening, right? So we see the scene where, they're walking through the forest and he's teaching these things, right?
Hmm.
Um and I'm just looking at the background and I'm listening. And at one point he's gonna help. So Grogu has kind of an amnesia of what's happened to him.
Hmm.
And then Luke's gonna do this. I think it's the wrong franchise, and Star Wars people might want to wreck me, but Luke does this kind of mind meld
Hmm.
to try to get into his memories, and very, very cool. Um, so we start seeing the last memories he had, and it was obviously during Order 66. And another video I watched pointed out the fact that see all the blur around them in his
Hmm.
memory? It's the same blur from the prequels, right? The Anakin was having the visions of
Oh, yes, it
Padme.
is. Yes, it is. I didn't pick that up, Steve.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then this is him, what he's seeing, right?
Yeah.
This is so cool. I wanted to get like 50 pictures of this, of them fighting these Jedi. And of course, the Jedi's obviously lose, but the clone troopers look so awesome.
That's why I was saying because in the prequels, the clone troopers are kind of CGI characters, right? Where
Yeah,
here they don't look like they're CGI. They look like real stormtrooper outfits. And me. There's a reason why I'm called Trooper Todd. I'm a big fan of troopers, right? So I was. This is the you had your Luke moment. This is my Luke moment, Steve. When I see
this
the
the
clone troopers and then they look like they're wearing they look like they fashioned these suits, these clone trooper suits, and I was super giddy when I saw that scene. And what a great breakdown. My son, who doesn't follow Star Wars, he's watched the movies, but he's never watched an episode of Clone Wars or anything or Mandalorian. So
yeah, yeah.
I was watching during lunch, and he was watching it with me. He's like, "Oh wow!" And he made some comment. Goes, "Well, these Jedi's aren't very good." because the clone troopers took him out, right?
There's so many of them, right?
Well, yeah, they're overwhelmed, son. Like, Jedis are trying to. Maybe these Jedis weren't the best of the best, right? You have to understand, like, there's going to be different levels of Jedis. Some are going to be exceptionally good. Some are not going to be as exceptionally good, right? Like, it's hard to be the master, right? If you're not the master, you're probably slightly less technical, right? So it's possible these Jedis weren't the master class. They're just probably Jedis.
It always reminds me. It always reminds me of when. Oh, hang on a second.
Whoa!
Hey!
Darth Lobo! How you doing,
we made it.
I'm good. I made it. How's everyone doing?
Well, we're just at a part where Grogu's flashback scene when Luke's doing a little mind meld with him, sort of thing, and we're talking about how the clone troopers wiped out the old Jedi.
Yeah, we got to about this scene here. So with the Luke doing the mind meld.
Oh, classic! I love a good order
Oh no, you're cutting in and out.
Scene.
We're losing you.
He said he loves a good Order 66 scene. I believe he said.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna apologize.
I think we're losing you.
We seem to be having some technical difficulty with Darth Lobo. See, that's what happens when you're on the dark side. You get a terrible Wi-Fi connection. So he's got to come to the Jedi side. Come to the light side, and you'll do much better, I'm sure.
Do you know the one thing when Luke is talking to Grogu, and I wrote this down, he says this to him, and I have a comment about that. He's like, he says to Grogu, the galaxy is a dangerous place. I will teach you to protect yourself. What I took from that is it's so Luke, because he's saying, I'll teach you not to fight. I'll teach you to protect yourself. Because Luke was, I know he came in and he was badass and he was kicking all the droids' butts and all this kind of stuff with that cool scene at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. But he's all about the Force, right? He's all about, that's not what you do first, right? And maybe when he was younger, he was all like I want to fight Vader, and
hey, there you go.
There he is.
Much clearer now. Hey, look at that.
I'm back.
He's even moving and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I told the wife to get off the phone. Our dial-up's slowing down.
That's funny. That AOL is really slow.
It's tough out here in Saskatchewan, let me tell you.
I was just saying to Todd, I'll do this quickly again. I was like, when Luke is talking to Grogu, he says, the galaxy is a dangerous place. I will teach you to protect yourself. And I noticed that Luke wasn't saying it's dangerous. I'll train you to use the Force and the lightsaber, because Luke's not about that. Maybe when he was younger, he was like, I want to fight Vader and blah, blah, blah. But now he's just like, the Force, and that's not what we do. It's more of a peaceful thing, even though he could destroy half an army if he wanted, right? Because he's so powerful. But that's not him. That's just a small thing that I interpreted as the way Luke is a teacher, or how he's evolved as a Jedi.
Jedis are normally peacekeepers, right? They weren't aggressive for. They were sent in to be negotiators, because if negotiations go poorly, they can handle themselves, right? So I think that's what he's trying to say. You're not supposed to use your Jedi powers as a force of controlling, because that's more of a dark side Sith kind of thing, where you're supposed to be, really when Luke came there, he just wanted to get Grogu. Those bad death droids were kind of intimidating, kind of attacked him. He kind of defended himself, and best defense is a good offense at times, right? So
right.
Yeah, I love that we get to see Luke in full-fledged Jedi Master format, right? The way we all imagined him. I did really like that scene too. What I did think was missing is for me, it almost seemed like he was focusing too much on, I'll teach you to protect yourself. What I thought was missing was the Jedi element. I'll teach you to protect yourself and others, because, right. In my head, it was, that's what Jedi do. They're selfless. They go out and, they protect the innocent of the galaxy. But when thinking of Grogu's backstory about, we just saw another Order 66 scene, which was phenomenal, by the way. I love any time we get to see that.
How good were those clone troopers? How good do those clone troopers look, Adam? They look so good, didn't they?
Unreal. unreal, right? That's like the transition from the good guy clone troopers to the bad guy clone troopers and the what will be the stormtroopers, and we see them in their menacing glory, the 501st. So that was absolutely incredible. Anytime we see an Order 66 flashback, I'm on board, and of course we're going to see it with Dave Filoni. But yeah, I think with Grogu's backstory, his experience, his traumatic experience of the Jedi Temple, it almost had to be, I will teach you to protect yourself because of what happened in your past.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was just reading the comment here. So
Jeremy, we'll get to there. Jeremy has a comment about saber armor. He's went ahead so much. We'll get to that, Jeremy. Trust us. I think we'll all have an opinion on that, but we'll get there.
We gotta save that to the juicy end.
We're only 40 minutes in, but we're in the first 15 minutes of the episode. Like before you came on, and we're talking about how so much happened this episode, and yet nothing happened. Action wise, it's just so much happened, and I know.
When we finished this episode, I was like, that is the best episode of Star Wars. Bar none. Everything. The best episode of Star Wars. We got it all.
Yeah.
The only thing was it didn't really push the Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett forward. I'm sure they're going to tie it in. The decision, I'm sure, will play a role, but Star Wars content-wise, that was the best I've ever seen. It touched on everything I ever wanted.
The only thing that didn't have to be a complete Star Wars thing is there was no space battle. That was the only thing that we didn't have this episode. But again, the care. Again, I keep saying nothing happened because really nothing big action happens. But just so much character development in this episode, right? And again, that's one thing I said. You've heard me say many times. I hit over the head. Character development, and this thing had boatloads of it, and not just with one character. It was like 5 characters, nothing but character development.
Yeah, absolutely
amazing. So we'll jump into the next scene. So
yes,
while Mando's been waiting
on the bench.
On his bench, actually, there he is sitting there on his bench, and then, boom, Ahsoka. And of course, we knew Ahsoka was going to show up because everyone knew that Dave Filoni was directing.
Okay, no, I had no idea she was showing up, guys. So back up the boat. There's no way you predicted that, Steve. There's no way.
I said earlier, if Dave Filoni was directing a tire commercial for a car company, Ahsoka would be in it.
Yeah, but you didn't announce it ahead of time. There's no way you knew that. Adam, did you think she
off my couch at that point? Oh my goodness! Like for a Book of Boba Fett, I didn't think we were going to see Skywalker. I didn't think we were going to see R2. Yeah. I thought we were going to get maybe a brief cameo of Mando, but Ahsoka, no way.
Yeah. And you weren't here, but I predicted when Steve said it, he as soon as he saw R2, he thought Luke would make an appearance. I thought there's no way they're going to show Luke full face. I thought it would be a back of the head thing, kind of a nod or something. I never thought they'd show his face. And then
me too.
I was wrong. Cha-ching, they're spending so much money in that episode, making that look like it did, which maybe explain why that speeder chase didn't look as good as the train heist, because they spent their money somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
They had to be strategic.
Yeah, we're going to sacrifice the speeder race, the speeder chase scene, so we make this look better. You got to
say, after seeing all of Luke Skywalker in that episode, and Ahsoka, and we're probably going to talk about Cad Bane, all is forgiven. All is forgiven.
We're not there yet, buddy. We're not there yet.
Yes.
Just when you think there's no more surprises, there's spoilers. There might be more surprises this episode. It never stopped. Right from the beginning, we had Timothy Oliphant. We missed that part. We talked about Timothy Oliphant coming back. Yes, right. Right. And then you have Luke, R2, Luke, Ahsoka going, what is going on this episode? I know. One person we haven't seen yet is Boba Fett.
That's so funny.
It's funny that we're so into talking about this, and I totally forgot about Timothy Oliphant and Cobb Vanth. And he was one of my favorites from Mando season 2.
And that's what we were talking. You missed that.
We opened with that. He just an amazing scene. How he he carried that whole opening is so cool.
2 shots, 3 kills. I mean, my man Cobb Vanth is quick on the trigger, but not quick enough.
Not quick. Well, yeah, not quick enough. But Jeremy says deepfake guy they hired after the Mando Luke cameo definitely paid off. Yeah, this guy.
Totally. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, you missed that part, but yeah, I was going about how you remember season 2, that finale. I didn't care for how Luke looked. They fixed all that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your take on that because I thought it was phenomenal. But I mean, it was apparently when I see Luke Skywalker, I'm easy to please.
It was flawless. It was flawless. Like they fixed the lip talking. It looked like they brought in the right people to fix their small little mistake. That's very forgivable. But that's the one thing that really held me up. Is like I'm having a hard time buying it, but they fixed it. It was seamless. It was just spectacular. Like I'm saying, cha-ching. They're spending money on that episode.
I know, man.
That's expensive.
I even thought the mannerisms were a little better, like in the close-ups, like even the posture of Luke, it was identical to Return of the Jedi. It was fantastic.
I mentioned that to Steve earlier. Like if you looked at Return of the Jedi to this, it's like it was seamless transition.
Yeah,
it is. And I had mistaken. I thought, wow, okay, so when we saw Luke in season 2 of Mando, he was wearing that, the Return of the Jedi shirt, and I thought he was wearing the same thing. I thought, wow, does he not ever change out of that outfit? I know Han Solo never changes, but it was different. It was more of the roby kind instead of that button shirt. Mm-hmm. So I made a mistake because I was kind of saying that to people, like, why is he still wearing that? Like, it's cool, but he's got to move, change his clothes and get more roby, but. So Ahsoka and him are talking. I really liked some of the conversation they had, right? And I noticed with Ahsoka in the scene, like when they were walking and talking through the forest here, when we last saw her in Mandalorian, she was very like tense and, kind of looked out of sorts. But here she was smiling and she was calm. And when they were walking through the forest here, she was in front and she was almost skipping. It was so weird. I thought she's in a really, really good place, right? She sees, and it's probably because the fact that she's now found Luke, her master's son, her old master's son, who is and isn't like his father. Which I really like the one quote she says to Mando about who she is, and she's like, "I'm an old friend of the family."
Yeah, old friend of the family. Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah.
So the fact that we get to see an interaction with Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker in live action, especially, absolutely blows my mind. Like you think about the one person or few people who intimately knew both Anakin Skywalker and Padme is now alongside Luke is huge. Like incredible.
And again, the conversations they were having, like, tell me about my dad. Well, Anakin was like this, and these adventures we got into, and your mom was this, and you know what I mean? It was just like so cool to hear. Like if you had never really known your father or a parent, and he must just have a flood of questions for her.
He would know nothing about his mom. Nothing, right? Oh, yeah. Nothing. So like that's what you're saying. Like, and this is what I was saying earlier. Like, so much is happening, but nothing. They're walking. Nothing's happening except for the walking and talking. But so much is happening. That's what I'm saying. But it's a show all about nothing, but it's everything. That's why I'm so blown away by this episode. Because my son, who doesn't watch Star Wars or anything, was like, "I don't get it, Dad." Well, so you don't understand what they're talking about. It's so huge. Like it was just like he doesn't get it. But yeah, I was just amazed that the conversation was awesome. And just where it was going was awesome. And you're saying it's like the fact that he's now, the whole relationship with Luke and just, I'm a fan of the family was so good.
Well, this.
And when she was like, "You're so much like, or just like your father," or whatever she said, associate or linking him to the actions of Anakin, I melted. That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to see an interaction between Luke and Ahsoka so badly.
Right. And again, the questions, whenever she says that, it must, like the feelings must go through him as well, right? Like,
yeah.
Because
I think I'm jumping forward here though, because there's a very key interaction here between Ahsoka and Mando. I just saw you pop the picture up of, Grogu's so close.
He's
and
right
he's
there,
so
right?
important to
Yes.
Mando.
So they're talking, and he wants to, see Grogu and give him this, this gift and whatever. And she makes a good point here. She's telling him that basically he needs this training and blah, 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 and no connections. And she says, are you doing this for Grogu, or are you doing this for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then heartbreaking. He's right there.
Oh, he's right there.
And see, this is going back earlier. You were saying about the big wide shots. Here's that big wide shot again, right? Like, what I'm saying? It establishes about how it's so far away, so close, but yeah, he's so far away, but so close.
He's such a beautiful shot too. Like the scenery, the characters perfectly centering Luke in the middle of training Grogu. Like that shot is just chef's kiss. Gorgeous.
So he ends up deciding, like, okay. And you know what? I've said this all season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. It is amazing that you can get a feeling or a great performance out of someone you can't see their face. You know what I mean? Like the Mandalorian helmet, when he's looking up the hill here, and I think at one point when he's deciding, you could visibly see him going, like,
he's the whole
breathing
body
and the shoulders and everything.
And the way his head is not, because when he walks, he's like that John Wayne walker, right? Which makes sense because John Wayne's grandson or something like that is in it. But he's now, his head's down a lot more. He's sighing. He's more this instead of Mando, and he's just you without seeing in the helmet, you can see he's devastated, and he makes this decision, right? He's like, here, give this to him. And you can even see it in Ahsoka, where you can't see it, but she's surprised a little bit when she's taking this from him, because he made that decision, and she's probably impressed by it. And, she maybe feels for him a little bit and knows what's going on under that helmet.
Is it just me, or does Ahsoka even look more like the animated character right now than she did the first time we saw her in Mandalorian? Is it just me who thinks that? Like, she looks really identical now to the animated figure, the animated character, doesn't she? Like, we have to pull a picture from the Mandalorian series, but she looks. It looks even more like, it still looks like Rosario Dawson, but it just looks more like Ahsoka too. Like that face. Like, they must have done some more prosthetic makeup, but man, it looks good.
Looks good, right? And then that just heartbreaking. He walks away. He's gone. See you later. He's gonna walk away.
Like what they're doing here. And they're, conflicting the Mandalorian ideology of like camaraderie and, being together, being a clan, and the Jedi ideology, which is, no attachment, selflessness. And we're really seeing those two butt heads in Grogu, right? How should Grogu be looked after? How should he be trained? How should he be cared for? Should he be a foundling, or should he be a Padawan? And I initially thought that, among the Jedi, Luke would be that change because he was so close with Han and Leia, and he was always going back to save them. He put off his training to go try to rescue them. He didn't forget about them in Return of the Jedi. Luke held these important attachments that were not the orthodox traditional Jedi way. But I think we're seeing now Luke transition almost into that sequel trilogy Luke, and he's relying on more of those traditional Jedi ideologies and methods, which, aren't necessarily true to the Luke Skywalker that we saw, who had these key attachments that kept him grounded in the light side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Excellent point.
Yeah. And speaking of training, we get into the training montage of the next scene. So we see Luke is training Grogu, and when I was watching it in my head, I was kind of doing that Karate Kid. You're the best
around. That's Rocky IV. I believe that's Rocky IV, isn't it?
I thought it was Karate Kid.
Oh, maybe it is Karate Kid.
kid. So I was thinking that while you're seeing, it's really
kid.
cool, right? So you got Luke jumping and jumping through, doing the training montage, running, and again, there's that Japanese influence, right, with the training on the poles, and he runs up the trees, and this I really love.
That was beautiful.
It's beautiful, and the fact that, again, how Filoni and Favreau bring in the old and new together. Like, look at that. Like, of course, everyone said, "Oh, look, it's just like when Luke was with Yoda," but man.
The backpack, you look at the backpack, the strap, everything looks identical almost.
It's the same. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's so good.
They did that absolutely beautifully.
Luke's probably like, wow, this is a lot easier. He's not as heavy.
Not that he would have been heavy in the first place, but yes. But Luke's older now too, right? Luke's older now. So, he needs a little,
And all the training was kind of cute too. Like when Luke's trying to get Grogu to jump, right? And he does this barely anything, and he's like, really? Like, use the force. Use that force jump that they do. I just thought little things like that, because Luke was trying to be all serious like Yoda was, but every once in a while he would smirk and stuff, or just kind of do that thing that he does where he just kind of laughs a little bit. But I just thought that was fun. I wrote that down where he says, really. And then, of course, Filoni's throwing all the lines in, right? Don't try, do. And a lot of the quotes aren't exact, but they're close. Instead of, do or do not, there is no try. He just says that don't try, do.
Yeah.
Which is perfect.
I like that. I like that even better, actually. That, it's not a direct quote. It's, Luke's reinterpretation of it. I love that.
Because we all do the same thing. Like if somebody tells us a story when we're 5 years old, we tell the same story, but again, it changes a bit because you kind of make it your own, right? Like what you originally heard, you have your memory, and you're just going to adjust it. Like you play the telephone game, right? It goes around the circle. What you start off with, it ends at it's always different, right? So it's the same thing, except it's just one pass through one person. He's going to make it his own, so it makes sense to him, right? Or how he recalls it. So really good.
I kind of wrote down at this point when all this was happening, it's like really big. I said justice for Luke. And what I meant by that was for all the crap that was done to him in the sequels, Filoni and Favreau gave him that last scene in season 2 of The Mandalorian, which was awesome. But all this, seeing Luke training, being the Jedi trainer, and all this like normal stuff, which some people might have thought, oh, that's boring, let's just get on with it, like start blasting and shooting stuff. To me, it was like magical, right? This was justice for redeeming the character of Luke Skywalker that was done to him in The Last Jedi. And I don't care what anyone thinks about that. Like, Last Jedi was the greatest Star Wars movie ever, and Rian Johnson, Oscar, blah, blah. I don't care. That was not Luke Skywalker. And, it even came from the man himself. But, that's what I thought. It was redemption for Luke. But
I think this is what fans like. I hesitate to make the blanket statement of fans, but this is what at least I wanted to see, is more of the, what happened to Luke as he was trying to rebuild the Jedi Order. That's what I wanted to see in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
But I'm getting it now, so I'm happy.
Everyone wanted that.
Exactly. The thing is, the fact is, now we're getting it. Like, we never dreamed we'd ever get it, right? We never dreamed we'd ever get it. Now we're getting it. Now we have one little taste, and now this. So that just means that we could see a lot more of Luke as we go along. Whether it's Mandalorian, whether it's some kind of cinematic event, I just don't think it's the last time we're going to see Luke, which is very exciting for people like Steve.
Yeah, I hope they don't, shelve his character and reserve it, mythical, untouchable Luke Skywalker. I'd love to see more stories with him now that they can use him, and they, have improved technology to use Mark Hamill and body doubles like Jeremy was saying. They hired that deepfake guy from the second season of Mandalorian to make it look better. Like, now that we have that capability, let's use him where we can. Like, he's Luke Skywalker.
They've just proved it here, right?
That's exactly it. They just proved it here. It's working. There's no way there's going to reserve. But Why would you bring him back in this episode? You don't have to bring him back in this episode. They did for a reason. Like, there's no way there's going to shelve him and wait. He'll be showing up again somewhere else, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing for fans.
So part of the other training too, I thought was cool, right? Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, like, let's take all the toys and all the nostalgia and throw it in this episode. There's that trainer ball or whatever it's called, which was a cute scene, right? But him getting, I didn't get the picture of him getting zapped, but it was kind of funny. So, and then we see him throughout the training, kind of that being around. And speaking of the training, the one thing that was awesome was Grogu's doing this balancing Karate Kid thing, and then boof, right? The Luke ignites his lightsaber, and while Grogu is training, Luke's doing this kata, basically, and it's kind of like, different, taking martial arts, whether, I did Muay Thai and stuff, and the teacher would show, like my teacher would show us stuff that we got to do. And while we're doing it, he was doing it too. Right. So if he was telling us to do 100 kicks, he wasn't standing there going, do 100 kicks. He was doing 100 kicks. If he told us to do 100 kicks, he was doing it. And if we couldn't do it, he's like, I'm an old man. Why can't you do it? You're young and stuff like that. But same with when I did sword, right? The instructor would show us something to do with the long sword. And while we were doing these stupid movements, he was doing the whole thing and showing us what it's going to look like at the end. So we didn't go, this is dumb. What am I doing? And he was doing this whole movement with the longsword. You're like, oh, right. And it's just, this scene here to me showed him showing Grogu, this is also part of the Force, right? The lightsaber is part of the Jedi.
I just want to comment. Look how good. Tell me that isn't young Mark Hamill in that shot. Tell me.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like this is where this where it really came up with. Like, look how bang on that is.
I was convinced that was Mark Hamill just based on the movements of him with the saber. I thought for sure that would be Mark Hamill in there. I don't know if it actually was. It could very well be a body double, but everything, posture, movement, everything was screamed Mark Hamill.
Yeah, and Steve, you're taking a freeze frame, so it's not moving. So this is where you're going to see any kind of blemish in the effect. There's no blemish, like the glow in the face, like. Good. Everything is, and again, it's all about making it believable for the audience, right? We don't have to, a lot of people suspend their disbelief, and in the season 2 of Mandalorian, that big scene, there's Luke. Now they're just filling in that gap and filling it, and just again the attention to detail they're doing just to make sure that everybody is happy. Is amazing.
I really like that this sequence of scenes especially mirrored the training from Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, as well as had influences of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and all of that theme of cinema as well. What I thought was interesting about the lightsaber training is to be that almost called back to there was a scene in Rebels when they're looking at an old holocron, and it's of Anakin Skywalker doing one of the lightsaber form trainings. I thought it was very similar. I thought that was really, really cool that, Anakin was one to train the younglings on lightsaber form. And now, Luke is showing Grogu, here's what, a full Jedi Master looks like.
I don't know. There's a style of Jedi fighting that Luke uses, and I forget what it is. I don't know if it's the same as Anakin's. I think it's more like Ben Kenobi's. I'm not sure, but he's got, I don't know if he has an aggressive style. I think his style is more defensive. But
I don't know. I'd have to look at that. I don't
look
know
it up. I wish Jen was here because she'd be like, if Jen was here, she'd be like, oh, it's this and that or something, and she would know for sure.
I'd imagine it'd be more based off of Ben Kenobi's style than Anakin's style.
Right, but he went on to learn different things. Like he kind of developed his own thing, and I don't know if his was very aggressive. If he had an aggressive style, I mean, you would think that in season 2 of The Mandalorian, it was pretty aggressive. Well, because that seemed more like Anakin. I think he might have switched to like an Anakin style for sure there.
Yeah, and it's possible. But Return of the Jedi, he wasn't really. The only time he got aggressive in that duel with Darth Vader is when Darth Vader threatened his sister, right? Other than that, it is all defense, right? So he didn't really go there to kill Darth Vader. He went there just to confront his father. Exactly, right? So you mentioned defensive, offensive. He's definitely a lot more defensive for sure. And that, the Mandalorian scene against the droids, it's something totally kind of different, I think, where that you went in there and as soon as the first shot was fired, it was okay, total offense, right? So
it was game on.
Those droids weren't there. He knew those droids were not there for a good time, right? They're there for.
And it was easier to take them out because they were not living beings. But now we're getting to the scene that
we're gonna halfway through the show. You mean
that that
we're 20 minutes in now. Finally,
Adam had brought up and about loving so much is we finally get to see Luke and Ahsoka together on screen, and they're watching Grogu training, and it's really interesting. This is the part where she says, because he's talking to her about what if this, and talking about training Grogu, and she said that's where she says, you're so much like your father. And Luke, he just kind of, he heard her, but he was just like, it must be weird for him to hear that. It's like, how so? Like,
I don't think he fully got the significance of that either, because that was Anakin talking about her. I don't think her heart is fully in this when he was training Ahsoka. So it was like a direct mirror of, she saw herself in that position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she ends up giving Luke the armor, the little bag we all know is armor in it. And, you can see he's got some decisions to make or something going on. So, and then
Ahsoka takes off, and then probably on her own adventure, her own series, which is coming up too.
Yeah, she's in a series. Yeah, so she's like,
I'm really hoping she comes back to the Jedi Temple, and brings a special guest with her.
Like, like what special guest are you thinking? I'm thinking because she's on the hunt for Ezra, right?
She's on the hunt for Ezra, who is also a Jedi.
Yes, and he would be. How old would he be now? Would he be in his 30s right now?
He would be the same age as, or around the same age as Luke, because they were born around the same time and were at about the same time, about the same age, the Battle of Yavin. So they would be almost maybe not equals as far as wielding the Force goes, but as far as Jedi goes, they would be pretty close to being equal.
That would be interesting. Yeah, we'll get to see Thrawn maybe, etc.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen one thing on Thrawn, but I'm excited about this guy. I hear lots from you guys. I'm catching up on Rebels slowly, but I'm loving Rebels, loving the storyline there. So I'm really interested in finding out more about Thrawn for sure.
There was also a Canadian actor that hinted on Twitter. He looks like he's been lobbying for the part of Ezra Bridger, and he hinted that he was going to be working closely with Mark Hamill in the near future. So we'll see.
Wouldn't you love to be able to say that?
No doubt.
I ain't play Jedi, work with Mark Hamill, and
if you're a Star Wars fan, that would be a dream come true for any actor.
Always be part of the canon, always part of Star Wars. If you Googled it, you're part of Star Wars no matter what. Anyways, but hey, we're doing this, so
maybe he'll show up one time, Steve. Just keep asking.
It's true.
Mark Hamill, if you're free and available, you want to take part, we'd love to have you come talk to us.
We also got to reach out to the actor who plays Chrysanthemum, because he's now following Steve.
No, he's following Star Wars Reporter on Instagram.
We got to get him on here, and we got to get the dude who the admin dude. He's following you too.
The mayor. The mayor's admin dude. Yeah, he's following you too. Yeah, he'd be awesome too.
So we got to get him on.
Yeah,
one of them on.
Very, very cool. But fingers crossed. But hey, so then we tune back into the Boba Fett show, sort of. Where
Boba Fett makes an appearance in his own show.
I thought we were talking about the Mandalorian, but Mando shows up at the palace, and I just took this picture coming in because you see the Gamorrean with that axe, and he's looking more Gamorrean. I think he's putting on a little weight.
Looks like he is, yeah.
So I just thought it was funny. So then we go in and we're looking at the crew, talking about the plan. So we have the mayor's assistant, Fennec BK, and oh right, Boba Fett's there.
Oh hey!
Holy cow!
He doesn't say a word. Fennec,
in true Boba Fett fashion,
entire
shows
scene.
up for 8 seconds.
He just he's just listening, and when she's done talking, the only one talking, he goes, and then that's it. That's like, man, it must have been a hard day for him there. So that's I'll do it again. That's Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett. There he is. And all right, so that's it for that. And then Mando's they was decided that, you know, they're kind of figuring out what forces they have. So like, well, Mandalorian and BK are the muscle, right? So we have them, but we need more foot soldiers. And that's when Mandalorian has an idea where he can get some fighters. And I just like this scene where he's flying past the sandcrawler with the Krayt Dragon skull on it.
Yeah,
amazing.
And so I just want. Can we go back in time when he mentioned about BK and Mando being the muscle? Did you guys see the glance that BK gave the Mandalorian?
Yeah,
he gave him a little stare down. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I know you don't have a photo of it, but he actually looked over and he gave him a kind of a stare down. I thought was
like,
interesting.
this guy's also the muscle. I'm the muscle.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. It just had a kind of little glance. I was like, "Oh, is there something there that we don't know?" Like that's one thing I picked up on that little scenario. Sorry,
yeah.
Go back to your your
no, it is
Naboo
true.
fighter again.
So so Mando goes out to I don't know what the town. It's called Freedom City now or something. Where Mandalorian helped these people with the what do you call it? The Krayt Dragon with the Tuskens. But I think, who was I talking about with this? It was Todd or someone. So this deputy comes out to meet him, and as soon as I heard him talking and what he was saying, I was like, this guy's gonna be dead.
You weren't talking to me. You weren't talking to me, but
I think it was James. So he's given attitude, and Cobb, you know, calls him off, and
the classic rookie. Hey,
I know,
power tripping.
He should have the red bandana. If it's like Star Trek, he should have the red bandana. Then you know he's going to die for sure.
Oh yeah, that's right.
How good does Timothy Olyphant look, though? Holy cow! Look at that hair.
Me and Steve were talking about the fact that he doesn't have the suit on, but at the same time he has a swagger, a confident swagger about him. Like, you know, that he's still an intimidating factor, right? Like he's a serious dude, right?
Serious dude.
So
Mando and him go to discuss in the bar here, and I found out these bones here. Look, it's the rib cage.
Yes, it's the rib cage.
Dragon.
That is hilarious. I noticed that off the first watch too.
I did not.
Hilarious.
I did not pick up on that at all. But my son was with me, distracted me, asked me so many questions. So, but yes,
right. So it comes down to no one wants to fight. Right? It's that whole story. It's like, you know, we're done fighting. The city doesn't want to fight, and he does that classic, you know, like the whole, well, they're on the planet. You're part of the planet, and no one wants to fight. So I wanted to throw this, and I always take pictures whenever I see a swoop bike in a scene. I always take a photo of it because it reminds me of Wayne. Because Wayne was one of the writers for the original Star Wars role-playing game, and he was given the duty of fleshing out the swoop bike, the speeder bike, you know, when they were making it. So they got access to a lot of Lucasfilm stuff, and so I always attribute the swoop bike, which is like basically a Harley, to Wayne. So I just have to point that out. But so Mando leaves, and then
I love the one line in their dialogue actually stuck out to me when they're sort of beating around the bush, and Mando was trying to ask for something, and Cobb was trying to blow him off, and then Mando's like, "It's never easy to ask for a favor." Like, he just comes out and says it. I thought that was 100% truth. Like, how awkward is it anytime you're put in a situation where you need to, you know, ask someone for help, and just the candor of his, you know, it's never easy to ask for a favor. I thought that line stuck out to me.
Yeah, I agreed.
And I thought he was going to change his mind at that point, right? But they kind of didn't. Well, I mean, it didn't. I think he was going to call a meeting, right?
That's right.
Bob was going to call a meeting and kind of try to convince the town folk. So I think that did convince him, So he was going to try to at least make that attempt.
When he had a conversation with the bartender, didn't he? He said that something, and he hinted at the fact that, okay, you get all the personnel who are old enough to hold a weapon, sort of thing. Like, he was hinting that, okay, no, I think he was suggesting that they're in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I think he was trying to convince them, like he would give some speech if it got to that.
Yeah.
So,
we're getting close, guys. We're getting close.
We're getting close. So as he's outside, he's like, wait a minute, looking in the distance. And this scene here, where the camera follows him walking.
This is it. Yes.
Where the camera is following is so Western movie.
Oh, I love it. Like, every part of this, yes. I love.
And the fact that, like, who predicted this was going to happen? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this came out of, like, everything you see in this episode. We had R2, we had Luke, we had Ahsoka, we had, you know, we had Grogu, we had so much stuff. There's no way they're going to fit somebody else in this episode. But then as soon as I seen this figure walk, I was like, my son was sitting next to me. I started freaking out. And everybody knew who that was. Everybody knew who that was that scene at that moment, right? Like, you guys knew right away, didn't you? Like,
as soon as I saw the hat, I jumped off. Yeah, and I jumped off my couch. I said, "That is Cad Bane. There's no way."
And I kept going to my son, it's happening. He's like, what's happening, Dad? I don't get it. Like, you know, like this is something, you know, you're talking about wanting to see people in this live action role. Here he is walking down, the cowboy hat down. And what a great job, right? You don't see his face. You know who it is, but you don't, they don't.
Yeah.
Like, even though you know who it is, they're just like, you know, just in case, maybe it's not him, guys, you know, but you know it's him, right? But until that comes up, right? And how amazing did that look?
How did they do it? And phenomenal. we all thought it was never going to happen because it was too much. We thought maybe they'll put him in Kenobi, maybe they'll, because it's too much. Like,
I remember talking with you guys like the first 2 episodes, right? We were on this. We got to see Cad Bane. We got to see Cad Bane. We got to see Cad Bane, right? It has to happen. And then I'm going to be honest with you. When we got Mando, and especially this episode, Todd, like you were saying, when we got everyone, I did not think we were going to see Cad Bane. Not a chance. I thought they were going to end it on Luke and Ahsoka. That's great. And then, of course, the title of the episode strolls through the desert in all his glory. The one person I wanted to see since the beginning, who I didn't think I was going to see anymore. Like, we're 1 episode away. We were on the second last episode. The last, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I did not think we were going to see him.
Right. And again, too, so he rolls up. And again, there's that scene, wide angle scene from Filoni. And yeah, I mean, there he is. It's just
again, look at that. Crazy. Look at that shot. Not showing the eyes. It's just so good.
And another thing we said every week we've been on, how good do the aliens look? How good do they look?
Amazing.
Cad Bane looks incredible.
Like when he finally looks, I mean, wow.
Like, one thing that's hard to transition is the cartoon CG to live. And then sometimes, every time you've seen the Turtles, you've seen they always kind of change something, right? Like, they never, like Spider-Man. The villains is never the same as what you see in the animation stuff. Here's something. It's a direct. No making it work for live action. What it looks like in the animation is exactly what we're getting. There's no flaw. Every expectation a fan has of what Cad Bane should look like is in the details.
Right.
I would think, like, taken to the next level too. Like, Cad Bane is an old bounty hunter now. And if you look at that shot, you can see the wrinkles and the age in the alien. Like, it is absolutely fantastic. The teeth and the mouth movement, incredible.
So again, my son, who has no idea who this guy is, but I'm talking about, oh, this is happening, son. When the face comes up and he starts talking, my son goes, "That's one bad dude." Like, right away, he knew. Intense. He knew right away that this is a bad guy. Like, you know, like, he was like right away, just on the image, the teeth, like, oh, Dad, that guy, like he knew. And then he's like almost 21, right? There was no wish-washing. He knew exactly this guy was a bad dude.
Oh yeah, as soon as he rolled into, I was ecstatic, and I was like, "Oh, that sucks. Cobb Vanth is dead now." Before the
I
duel,
know.
oh, that sucks.
I was that's what I was saying. I was like, one of my favorite characters. No, I was freaking out. But their talk with each other, Cobb was he was so cool. Like the actor, how he was answering, it almost be like, who are you? It was just like that attitude that he has was so cool. And then you have the opposite across from him, who was so intense. You could just see how his jaw was clenching at every voice. And it meant the voice was done by the same voice actor, Corey Burton, who did the voice work, for Cad Bane in the Bad
You could
Batch,
tell it
Clone
was
Wars.
uncanny, like it was identical.
So that was really cool. But man, he was so intense. Where on the live screen, way more than obviously in the cartoon.
Absolutely. Back like Clone Wars, there's a slog in the beginning, but when as soon as he came into the picture, like wow, how the episodes picked up, right? And I loved him right from the first time I saw him in the Clone Wars, and then just now, just seeing him here, it's like we saw him in the Bad Batch too. It's like, oh, he's so good. Like I want to see this guy in live action, and then no disappointment at all, right? Like, and just how tense that interaction between the two.
Because there was a lot of pauses, right? There was a lot of pauses. And then they're just looking.
That freaking rookie, hey, the reason.
And you know what? As soon as he stepped
out,
I went,
his eyes off him for a second.
Yeah. As soon as he steps out, the deputy steps out. I went, oh no! My son's like, what's wrong? Everybody's dead now.
Everyone's dead.
He's going to screw everybody's dead now. This guy's going to screw everything up. And
see, this is why Cobb should have killed that last Pike guy, because now he knew where to go. He shows up, right? But he's a good guy. I understand he's a good guy, but he right away, Cad Bane is like, whatever Boba Fett's paying you, will match it, and basically that was the negotiation. And I wrote this down, and I said he's got a good point. Cad Bane says this to him: Boba Fett's a cold-blooded killer that worked for the Empire. Like, how could you be working with him? And I thought, that is a good point. But I mean, he's also a killer.
Bounty hunter. He's a bounty hunter. Because Cad Bane worked with all the good people in the Star Wars universe. Shut up, dude. He's a lying, manipulative. Like, come on. Like, he can go. But of course, Timothy Oliphant, Cobb doesn't know Boba Fett from anything, right? But. Yeah.
So, and I really hope
person on Tatooine has to choose between the Spice Runners and the Imperial Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, I really hope when we get to see Bane and Boba Fett when they face each other, because it was Cad Bane that put that dent in Boba Fett's helmet, right? This thing here.
Yep.
I was trying to explain it to my son. Where did that happen? I said, I've heard this all the time, but where did that happen?
So, and it'll be interesting if they show up and he says something like, if they have a chance to talk, like, I like your helmet, or nice helmet, or how's your head. But someone pointed this out too on the original costume for Boba Fett. Boba Fett's also got a thing like this in his codpiece. So I remember someone had posted and said, what woman did he piss off? So,
but remember in the Bad Batch when Cad Bane took off his hat and he had that there's plate. Like the skull metal plate that we're thinking may be courtesy of Boba Fett as well. So we could be getting the dual rematch of the century in event that should have 0 rematches. A gun duel is going to have the biggest one yet.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's what'll happen either way to Boba Fett, or I just know that Cad Bane in a deleted scene was supposed to be killed in the Clone Wars, right? And
because they both took a shot to the head,
right? So,
but I mean, Cad Bane also has history with Fennec Shand, like we've seen in the Bad Batch, right? They went toe to toe, and Fennec took him out close combat.
Yeah.
Yes. So it'd be interesting. So I mean, like we said, the stupid deputy screws it all up, and Cobb has no chance against him. He gets shot once, and right away I was like, that's a shoulder, but I thought he was dead. And man, does he not like that deputy.
No.
He shot him so many times, and yes,
they didn't even go help him. They looked over and they're like, yeah, he's dead.
He's dead, and he did shoot the deputy. Okay, so I'm waiting to do that all day. So
it was worth it, Steve. It was worth it,
and we know that for sure Cobb is alive because when some of the people ran out, you hear someone said, "Get a stim" or something like that. Call a doctor, get a stim pack, or so. Which I'm happy. I was like, but I thought. Why did he leave Cobb alive, right? He just shot him once, shot the other guy like 6 million times.
Have to send a message.
Someone's got to relay. The exact same. Thank you very much, Adam, because that's exactly what I was saying earlier. That's why I left the one guy alive to send a message. Now there's going to be a message sent. And quite frankly, this is, part of maybe Cad Bane's negotiation skills. If I do this once, maybe he's going to, be on our side, not on their side, right? So, but again, a message is being sent that the Spice Runners mean business. The Pike need business.
Pikes. Speaking of Pikes, back at Garza's bar.
Oh yes.
Oh, man,
Los Espa.
They fit a lot into the last few minutes of the episode.
So much. So you have them come in and they sit at a table, right? And then the little Twi'lek helpers are like, "Can we clean your helmet?"
Clean your helmets?
And they're like, "Nah."
Buff your helmet.
So then they end up leaving. And the stupid
droid's forgot your case.
And then boom. The big bomb, just like the mafia movies and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, so Garza was like 5 feet in front of that dumb droid when that happened. If she survives this bomb, I'll just shake my head. Like, come on. So obviously they've killed off Garza's character, which was whatever. But I know someone has said to me, "No, that can't be because, she's a famous actor and stuff." And it's like, well, she's not going to do this forever, right? I think she's going to work.
I heard a conspiracy because when they panned through the band, Max Rebo wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
And everybody's thinking Max Rebo's in the inside man. He's the insider because he survived Jabba's barge as well.
Yeah.
I did notice that Max was not there when they were panning through all the instruments. He was not. I did notice that right away. So, where's Max?
That's awesome that they did that because he survived another explosion. Good for him. Hey, he's a good musician, man. He's like.
But now it also maybe sends a message too that maybe Boba Fett's protection isn't that great.
Oh, for sure. They were just
gonna. So it's a big message stamped on right there. It was. Again,
just such a nice place too.
It was
right.
Yeah.
So here is the big finale. I guess is we're back at the planet with Luke, and the little temple thing is finished, and him and Grogu are talking, and basically Luke opens the gift from Mando, which of course reveals Frodo's shirt.
Mithril.
Is Mithril. And so he basically shows them that. He shows them Yoda's lightsaber. And then he has to make a choice, right? Because he says, I think the Grogu's going for the armor, but he's like, no, wait, here's the lightsaber. If you choose the armor, you go back with the Mandalorian. If you choose the lightsaber, then I'll train you, right? As a Jedi. And someone had pointed out too, it's very much like the Lone Wolf and Cub, where it's like he put a samurai sword out and a ball, and the child, if he crawled to the ball, if he crawled to the samurai sword, he would train him, which was again is that influence, right? Yeah. So, damn it, they ended off just him looking back and forth.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear predictions.
He's going to choose the armor.
Well, for story progression, there's no point in having this whole entire scenes with Grogu and Luke if he doesn't choose the armor. There's no point.
He's gonna choose the armor because that ship's already built for Grogu, and some executive at Disney was probably like, after they read about all the hype and everything about season 2, they're like, hey, I'm sorry, what did you do with our number one toy maker? Or toy merchandise? What? You wrote him out of the show? And they're like, yeah, because it makes sense, right? He's going to go train now. He's with his people. They're like Grogu toys were making us, we're making us money, and Cara Dune. Well, we don't have Cara Dune anymore. So I'm sure they're freaking out. They're like, oh, okay, we'll write it back in. And I think that's what's going to happen. But what do you guys think? I have this big prediction of what's going to happen.
I'm pretty sure that was their plan from the beginning. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that was their plan from the beginning. I'm just going to say that. Predictions. Oh, I definitely think he's going to pick the armor. It's set up to pick the armor. It just seems, as a storytelling basis, to pick the lightsaber now would just make no sense to me.
I agree. First thing, I think it's super cool that he has Yoda's lightsaber. Something I never thought we'd see again. Super cool. I do think he's going to pick the armor only because I think in the sequel trilogy they mentioned Ben Solo was the first student of the new Jedi Temple. So I'm thinking he goes to the armor. Also, I'm hearing a lot of callbacks that this is Luke is channeling his Anakin Skywalker because he forces Grogu into an ultimatum. And it was Obi-Wan who pointed out that only Sith deal in absolutes.
Right.
And what is Luke Skywalker
You just
doing?
share that.
I just shared that with Steve. I saw that, only the Sith deal with absolutes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that. I think that Grogu's going to pick the armor. This was my prediction, right? Like Grogu does a little bit of training, takes off like Luke did to Yoda and Empire. But I think that, and I read somewhere too, someone said, yeah, but Leia was Luke's first before Ben, and then she stopped training. But anyways, it's supposed to be Ben.
She quit before she finished her training, though, because she had a Force vision.
Right. So this is what I'm thinking. Here's a guess of what's going to happen in episode 7. Maybe this is a maybe. So Luke's going to say, okay, I'm going to bring you back to the Mando. So he's going to put him in his X-Wing. This is one scenario, and go back to Tatooine. So we're going to see Luke back on Tatooine again. This is going to be cool. But it's going to be during this whole battle. Here's a prediction. So Luke basically helps destroy everyone. Where he might even come across an injured Mando on the ground with his darksaber, and all these forces are coming. So you're going to have Luke with his lightsaber, the darksaber, doing an Anakin 2 lightsaber fighting, and maybe saves the day. They might do a second one of those, or I don't think they're going to do Harrison Ford, or Han Solo. He comes in the Millennium Falcon, but maybe Luke might show up and do this whole big, finale thing at the end again, because you can't get enough of those, and I mean it honestly. So that could be it. He could have the darksaber, and when it's all done, he hands it back to Mando. And he might be like, oh, I'm going to have to learn that, or something, like some kind of smart ass thing that Mando says. And I think that Grogu might go back to train with Luke at some point after season 3 because of merchandising of the Mandalorian. I don't know. This is maybe my fan
Mando
pick.
does need to train with the saber, right? That was already established in the previous episode. So maybe Luke is the one to train them both. Who knows? I always thought the child Grogu would choose the armor, and then Luke would call his buddy Han Solo to deliver Grogu back to Tatooine in the Falcon.
Well, you guys are those are both big predictions. I don't think. Okay, my prediction. I love your idea, Steve. It seems very epic, so epic for a TV series.
Because it's not like they're doing anything with Boba Fett anyway. So have Luke take over now.
Yeah. Okay. And the Han Solo idea, great. That's just so far out of left field, but who knows? I think Luke won't be seen again in this Boba Fett series. I think it has to. If it's the final episode, it has to pivot. I'm sorry, it has to pivot back to Boba Fett to be the main character. I'm sorry. Does this make sense? Story structure.
Back to who?
I know we haven't seen him for
unless
2 episodes.
We get a season 2.
Unless we get a season 2. I think that I don't think we're going to see Grogu in the season in episode. I think that will be resolved or figured out when it comes to Mandalorian season 3. But again, that's my prediction. I could be totally wrong too. Like yours sounds like a fanboy just dream come true sort of thing, you know?
It's my fanboy romance novel I'm writing.
So, excuse my French, maybe a fanboy wet dream is what it sounds like. I'm sorry, but that's what it sounds like.
It is.
So,
it is. But that's what John and Dave are doing right now anyway.
And you're totally right, because that's a lot. And it's a lot to do the exact same thing as they did in the season finale of Mandalorian 2. So I just think it's too much. It has to be, and I think it really has to conclude around Boba Fett. I think the big thing will be Cad Bane, Boba Fett coming together, maybe so to resolve some of that. That come to some kind of resolution regarding that with, because it's been established those two have a history. Again, I've never seen the history. Have you? So I was asked earlier. I don't know where this came from. The shot to the head. Where does that come out? That Cad Bane.
It was an unfinished storyline in Clone Wars. It ended up being like a deleted scene that wasn't like fully completed.
Okay, then that makes perfect sense. Where this is a chance for Filoni to tell that storyline, right? So I can see that happening more. I don't think Luke. I think Grogu's done for Book of Fett. I think that's going to be saved for season 3 of Mandalorian. That's my prediction. What's going to happen? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Cad Bane and Boba Fett are going to have some kind of confrontation. That's what
we have to see him ride a Rancor, though. That's right. All the predictions, he has to ride a Rancor.
That has to happen. You're right, Adam. Thank you very much. That has to happen too, because I think when they're coming, he's going to come out and it's going to be awesome, right? It's going to be so awesome. Oh, James is late. It was only been an hour and 25 minutes. James, you're really late. So James has commented. Yeah, you're really late, dude. We finally got there. It's been an hour 25, but we finally got to the end of this episode. That's my prediction. Steve, I think if your thing happens, fantastic. Adam, if your thing happens, fantastic. I just don't see that happening. But how cool would it be to see Han Solo coming in with Chewie? Like, oh hey Boba, how you doing? Like, I didn't expect to see you here.
He could be in the background, right? He could be delivering like Luke and Grogu, so Luke can bring it, and then you can see Han Solo.
You just want to see more Luke.
Sorry.
I'm just saying he could be bringing it. So you have all three. You have Luke and Han on the ship.
But you have Leia too, because they're married, right? You have to have Leia there too.
Well, she doesn't go everywhere he goes. Come on.
Well, of course. I'm unrealistic here. I'm sorry.
So you can see something like Han coming down the gangplank of the Millennium Falcon, going, "Come on, kid, we got to get going," because he's gonna always call Luke kid, right? So I don't know. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Maybe Leia will be on the ship, and we'll see a toddler Ben Solo, and it'll connect to the sequels.
Why not? Right? This is. I think we're going really far. Maybe we might be upset. I think we're building up expectation too much, here, people. Maybe.
Right. Because it could be just episode 7. It could be like all Boba Fett. So you have the cyberpunk kids, and then Boba Fett without a helmet talking to everyone. So that could be the grand finale. Check
out James. James came late to the conversation, but guess what he just did? He just said, "Oh no, the one before that. The one before that. Oh yeah, sorry, that's right. After one, so yeah."
Pike, they start to win, but the tide turns with Crimson Tide shows up and starts to whip them. And that's when Luke, Han, and Chewie arrive on the Falcon, drop off Grogu. Yeah, I mean that's the one thing that.
Would Luke, Han, and Chewie save Boba Fett? They thought they killed him once already.
Yeah, that's right. They save the day. They save the day, right? You get the OT group come in.
Yeah, that's what they do. Doesn't matter who it's for. They save the day.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, guys. Maybe I'm wrong. It's possible that you guys were right on the button here.
As always. Before we sign off, speaking of James, I just wanted to, and I meant to do this during when we first started with the podcast, but I couldn't wait to jump into it. James, if people don't know, he's also an amazing writer and has worked on a lot of game systems, including for the Fantasy Flight games, the RPG game for Star Wars. And he's also done Lord of the Rings stuff. And I took part in a Kickstarter that Free League took part in, and it's a game that he was one of the writers for, The One Ring. It's Lord of the Rings.
Sweet.
And it came in a couple days ago. So it's got
super awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to play this. So you can play, it's The Hobbit, basically, the Lord of the Rings game. And it also came with kind of a box set. It's a starter set.
Nice.
With the Hobbit.
Oh, that's dynamite. Adventure. That looks great.
Yeah, so check it out at Free League. You can look them up online or on Facebook. But I thought James was going to comment on this. But yeah, I'm very excited for James to run a game online, wink, and play it. So check it out.
That looks amazing.
It does.
Yeah. So we'll have to talk about it offline a little bit, and I'll show you some of the pictures. But
I can't believe we got through this episode.
There's so much to talk about in this one.
But again, I'm going back to a big, huge episode, and at the same time, like nothing happened really.
Yes, it's true.
I heard about Mithril.
Hey, we already had a Mithril shirt, so
exactly. Yeah. You're welcome, James.
Yeah, so that was chapter 6 of the Book of Luke Skywalker, and so it's funny. This is what that reminded me of.
I love Boba Fett. Hello, it's my show. It's so good.
The book of everybody but Boba Fett.
It's funny. He was in about half of it, so it's good.
Not in half. Oh, you mean Luke was in half of it, or Boba Fett? Boba Fett, like Adam
first
said,
4 episodes.
First.
I mean, you don't want him in all 7 episodes.
No, that'd be stupid.
I know.
That'd be stupid. But Robert Rodriguez promised big things from this series. So, the last episode was huge. This episode is a little bit more huge. I'm just looking forward to see what happens next. They built up to something really neat. And again, I just want to promote the fact that I predicted that they're really working on a multi-connection of crossovers of series, and that's exactly what they're doing, right? Like with Ahsoka having her own series now, like everything's tying together. They're doing the MCU, but they're doing the Star Wars universe now, right? And so I can only see nothing but a big, huge trilogy coming up in the next couple of years or a few years.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I love seeing crossover narratives and crossover storylines. Like I know the MCU is one thing, and I love seeing it there, but to see it again with the Star Wars universe gets me excited. Yeah,
how can I not? Like I'm just waiting for we see Omega or some of the Bad Batch to show up. We don't know what's going to happen in the Bad Batch, but I'm pretty sure it's just a moment. Just a moment of time. You have to wait, and then that's gonna be a connection too, right? Like just the fact we have Rebel characters coming in and bleeding over to each character. It's just so good.
It's looking every time I see Favreau and Filoni do something in Star Wars, I always say the future of Star Wars is looking good.
Oh,
and
exactly,
this is kind of proving it.
They're kind of riding the ship. I love this. I love all the talk of reconning the sequel trilogy, and this is a great way to do that, right? And I love the fact that they're trying to be respectful to what happened with Last Jedi, and they are trying to be respectful for it, right? And good on them. But I love to see what stories they're going to do. Adam has something to say.
I will weirdly say this episode of Luke Skywalker makes me hate sequel trilogy Luke Skywalker a lot less, because I see where he's going into like overly traditional Jedi ideology, as opposed to what brought him to become a Jedi, is his connection to his friends. He's going away from that and trying to recreate what was and what ended up being the downfall. So I think this is actually making me hate sequel trilogy Luke Skywalker less, because I see his direction.
Yes. Although
I know that's a topic of much debate for another episode.
Yeah, well, James actually James has a nice little theory here that he thinks they're not going to recon the sequels. They're just going to kind of ignore them like Star Trek did with Star Trek 5.
Yeah. Very, very true.
That could happen because, at the end of Rebels, Ahsoka went into the world between worlds. So that opens up a possibility with alternate timelines and things like that.
They've been saying that. for a while, ever since Rise of Skywalker. They're like, they could always go back in time and change all that. So it worked for Back to the Future. So
it also worked for Endgame, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like like everything's and now they open up a multiverse of stuff. Anything can happen now, right? So, it can be a very, if you're looking at this on paper without seeing, you might go, what a stupid thing. But you know what? You can make it work with very creative writing and characters, and so to make it believable. So anything's possible. You just got to do it right. You have to love the characters, you have to love the material, and then you can make things work.
Right. James has said, Steve and I have been fighting about The Last Jedi Luke since 2017.
So
James is always wrong.
James is a fan of The Last Jedi? Is James a fan of The Last Jedi?
It's a very long story. I'll let him write a manifesto about it. But
if he likes it, then he's definitely wrong. I'm sorry. If he likes it, he is wrong. Sorry, James. You're a great person, but if you like it, you're wrong.
On that note,
I think we almost need to have a debate episode. We got to get James on here. We got to have both sides.
It's hard to find the other side, though, isn't it?
You know what? I think the only argument in a debate about The Last Jedi is my rebuttals would always be shame. That would be it. That's all I would have to say, and people would be watching going,
I'm learning to like the direction with Luke Skywalker a little more based on this. I don't love it. I'm learning to like it because of the direction. I will say that other half of The Last Jedi where they do the meaningless mission, I still can't get on board with that.
Yeah. Well, here's the situation. You know what? It's another thing where the tipper hat to Filoni and Favreau, because they're making you learn to like the tragedy they created.
Totally. They're changing my belief systems. I love it.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of hard work and a lot of thinking of a lot of smart people and creative people to try and tie those things together to make it acceptable.
See, and that's weird because the sequel trilogy made me really, really realize I was wrong about the prequels. And so that kind of works. That kind of works. But I think that's it, guys. I think we're going to call it for tonight before more debate comes on.
We're falling back into the classic debate of The Last Jedi.
Oh, you know what?
Everything sucks. You suck. That sucks.
Let's put a pin in that. After we'll have some time to kill after Book of Fett's over for the next series to start up. So let's put a pin in that. We can have a little discussion and to talk Last Jedi. I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in it. A giant sword-sized pin in it, or lightsaber-sized.
A Yoda-sized lightsaber.
I know.
I just want to say before we go, I love the idea, Steve's idea, his theory of Luke Skywalker having his lightsaber and the dark saber at the same time. Like how that would be pretty epic, I must say. Like
blow people's brains out.
Yeah.
So, but I just want to leave everyone with a good feeling, and thank you for tuning in.
This good feeling, which fundamentally Star Wars should deliver a good feeling, an uplifting feeling in you and your family, your kids, whatever.